Good morning, students. In the last audio, I discussed the sixth poem, When You Are Old. I hope you have listened to the audio again and again and are perfect with the poem. Let's continue with our syllabus, and today we are going to discuss the seventh lesson, The Gardener, written by P. Lankesh. I think all of you have heard P. Lankesh's name because he is a very famous journalist with his own newspaper, Lankesh Patriki. The same paper's title was used for a film which was produced and directed by P. Lankesh's son and daughter also. So, P. Lankesh, who was born in 1935 and died in 2000, led a very successful as well as struggleful life. After his graduation, he started working as a lecturer, professor in English, but he was more attracted towards literature. So, he quit the job and joined writing and also the field of journalism. P. Lankesh is a poet who has written several poems. He is a writer who has written novels and short stories. He is a journalist and he has written many columns and produced a newspaper as well. He has translated very famous Baudelaire's French literature to Kannada, and he has written some plays as well. On the basis of the plays and stories, he has directed a few movies. The first directed movie was Pallavi, which was based on a female protagonist view, which acclaimed a lot of appreciation and awards as well. Based on his own story, Biruku, he directed the film and that won the National Award for Best Direction. So, we can say that versatile character P. Lankesh was a very gifted person to the Kannada literature. Now, as you know that this Gardener was written in Kannada, so it was translated by one more famous personality, H.S. Raghavendra Rao, who was a teacher, a professor in Bangalore and University as well as Hampi University. He has translated many Kannada stories into English and this is one of them. Now, to go with the pre-reading activities, we have two important questions which are really very interesting. The first one is there a difference between competition and rivalry? As you know that there is a difference between rivalry and competition. Competition is basically having a competitive mind. There is no rivalry in it. As soon as the competition is complete, if you win, you are happy. If you don't win, you are not much unhappy. Because it's a competition and therefore it is thought that competition should be a healthy one. But in rivalry, what we find is the competition is because of rivalry to take revenge on the opposition party either by legal, illegal means or just as we say hook and crook. In any way possible you want to harm the opposite party and be happy. This is a sadist view and unfortunately not welcome. So, there is difference between competition and rivalry. The second question, can you think of different driving forces that motivate humans to achieve in life? Dear students, you all know that we all are striving towards achieving something in our life. You are studying second year so that you can also have a good career, achieve something in your life. So what is the driving force here? Why you want to achieve something? example, some of us want to have a name. We want to become very famous personalities, so we want to achieve something. Maybe again, what we can say, money. Money is the driving force nowadays. No sooner the person gets a job, the very first question asked is how much salary you get there. Nobody will ask you what is the work, nature of work and environment, but the question asked is about the salary. That means for the sake of money also, money can meet many of our demands. So for money's sake also, yes, it is a driving force. And there are some perks in the sense facilities. You are given a very good bungalow or quarters or a flat. You are given a car and many other, like a foreign tour or so many other facilities. Concession or scholarships are awarded. So for that sake, promotions are there in your job. So that is also one of the driving forces. Then some of us are having some kind of thirst or hunger, we can say. Until and unless I write something, I cannot sleep. Until and unless I speak to somebody, I cannot have the peace of mind. So for that sake also, that's also a driving force. We want to write something, we want to speak, we want to sing or do some activity which will meet our thirst or hunger. That is also a driving force. The very important thing, money, quite opposite of poverty. We want to get out of that poverty circle, and therefore poverty drives us to do something, achieve something and come out of that vicious circle and be a noted and good person in the society. So one more thing what we can say is gifted. Some of us are very intelligent, very clever. Since childhood, the intelligence is exhibited, and naturally you become a very famous personality because of your intelligence. I think it is better to quote the recent released movie Shakuntala Devi. Shakuntala Devi is a human computer. She is known as human computer, and she is from Bangalore, that is our place, Karnataka, which is a proud feeling for all of us. So she became world famous because of her intelligence. Since childhood, she exhibited extreme intelligence in solving the mathematical problems, and in those days when education and exposure was not much, she roamed, travelled around the globe and solved whatever challenges she was given, and that is how intelligence is also a driving force for achieving something. So with that introduction, let's move on to the story, The Gardener. As you know, the gardener is one who is taking care of the garden. He is a supervisor or he is the person in charge of the garden. Now the writer, he says that if you elaborate more, what would happen? The thing would become less authentic. That means if you try to explain it again and again in detail, word by word, bit by bit, the importance of that subject becomes less important, less authentic. So the poet says, the writer P. Lankesh says, he says that this story he conceived in a flash. What do you mean by a flash? In a flash. That means all of a sudden, at once he conceived, he got this idea, he got this story outline. So sometimes it happens that writers write, scratch, remove some words, add something, and then the final script is ready. But P. Lankesh says he conceived this story in a flash, at once. All of a sudden, he got this outline story. So he says that it may be because of the encounter with the old man. An old man he met, and that may be a reason to write this story. And this old man was standing near the coconut groves of Chennarayapattanam. Chennarayapattanam. Chennarayapattanam near Mysore hills. So the writer says that his eyes were suffused with strange memories and native intelligence. Suffused in the sense full of. As we all know that eyes are index of human being or man, eyes express a lot of emotions and feelings. The old man's eyes were filled with strange memories. If you look at the old man, you can say that he has got some strange memories and native intelligence. That means at old age also the eyes expressed intelligence as well. And he was standing there, a tall figure. The old man was tall figure, hair gone grey. Yes, that is symbol of old age. Then a long beak-like nose. Different types of nose are expressed, and beak-like nose in the sense it is also a symbol of native intelligence. So strong and muscular arms, which is necessary for a worker. If you see all other achievements, the first thing what we have to achieve is a healthy body. Because a healthy body, a healthy mind. Sound mind, sound body. So these are correlated with one another. So the old man was quite tall, and he had a long beak-like nose, and he was very strong, had strong muscular arms. In one hand, a spade used to tend the coconut trees with one hand. Actually, we all use the spade with two hands. All of you have seen the spade. Spade is used to tend the coconut or coconut trees or work in any farms. So usually two hands are used, but he used to do the work with one hand. And another thing was, always he used to read the newspaper. A newspaper was always tucked in his arm. You can say like this it is. Usually he hold the newspaper, so he always used to have the newspaper tucked in his arms. What was his work when you look at the old man? The writer says he was a laborer, he was an overseer, he was a philosopher, all rolled into one. To know something about philosophy, we all say that it is very difficult to understand. We have to study a lot, and age and experience will give us a bit about what is philosophy. But the old man, when you look at him, you can make out that he knows a lot of philosophy. So, he is a laborer in the sense he is not a supervisor. In case you are asked to work, he is ready to do the work, and he is an overseer also. When the laborers are there, he is a supervisor. Overseer in the sense supervisor. So, he came to the garden after walking hundreds of miles. Students, now we have different modes of vehicles, but in those days, vehicles were less. Probably the old man did not have much money also. So, he had come to Chennarayapattanam walking hundreds of miles. Can you imagine that now? Very difficult. We will wait for a half an hour to travel 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer sometimes. But instead of waiting over there, 1 kilometer can be a walkable distance. Yes, one has to think about it. He had come walking hundreds of miles, and the owner of that coconut grove, the owner of the coconut grove in the sense garden. So the owner of the garden needed a person exactly like the old man. In the world, what we find is meritorious, prompt, honest people are always in demand, because we want to shift half of our responsibilities on such people. So the old man, when he went near that coconut grove, the owner was in search of a person exactly like him. Then a few words exchanged. It is not an interview, but just trying to see what he knows in one or two questions. Few words are exchanged and the old man was asked to stay on. Nowadays, after completing engineering, the M.Tech, the MBA and all, there are first round, second round, third round, group discussion, oral and then online and audio, video and then face-to-face interview. And till that time also you are not sure you are selected or not. But very few words were exchanged and the old man was selected for the work. He was really useful. Sometimes our selection goes wrong, but the owner's selection was very correct. The old man was well versed in agriculture and could understand the problems of the workers. This is very important. When an overseer is there, he should not think that he himself is representing the owner. It happens that the laborers' problems are usually unheard by the owners. They think that we pay and therefore they have to work. No personal issues, no inquiries made, whosoever comes to work. But this old man was well versed in agriculture. That means he knew every bit of work related to agriculture and also the problems of the workers. Usually what we find is workers try to skip work or come late, go early. These are very common problems that we see in workers. But the old man was well versed with these problems also. Now it was a huge coconut grove, so there were petty thefts. Sometimes the laborers, sometimes the outsiders, the people used to take away, rob the coconuts. But the old man came and these all petty thefts came to an end. There was no robbery or no thieving of these coconuts. And then when there is no shortage, naturally the income will increase, and so the garden improved dramatically. Why dramatically? All these years there was income in the garden, but it was less because the owner used to come once in a while and workers, they tried to skip the work or come late, go early or pretend as if they are working. Then they would take away coconuts as they wanted. So there was nobody to control and bring it in order. When everything was settled, naturally the income increased all of a sudden. There was a great change in the lifestyle of the owner. Money changes many attitudes, and it is quite natural that the garden owner, his attitude also changed. The plantation expanded. He bought many acres of land just adjacent to his coconut grove. And the other thing which is not welcome, unfortunately, he became lethargic. Lethargic in the sense not alert. Or we can say some kind of laziness also. He became lethargic and sheed away from his word. Sheed away, avoid. He tried to avoid from his responsibilities. Whenever we are asked to do some work, complete within few minutes. But if you are not done, you have to find out excuses. If you don't want to do, you have to give more and more excuses. So the owner had a lot of time because of the old man. He was there for every solving problem. And now the owner was not at all alert. He did not go to the garden once in a week also. That much he depended on the old man. Kind of laziness. Money is coming. Lot of problems are solved. So the old man is not contacting the owner with any problem. Naturally, he shied away from hard work. Sometimes for money's sake we are working hard, and when money accumulates we stop working. We avoid hard work, unfortunately. Now all these attitudes were observed by the owner's wife. She found this all very strange. Till last month, till 6 months before, the owner was working better and respected everyone, and now that he is not at all alert in business or money matters, he is trying to avoid work conditions. So she found it hard whether to what to decide. Now there is a question in her mind. Did the old man came for a better cause? Did he come to destroy or make her husband lazy and not at all working? Sometimes it also happens. So she started thinking whether the old man's arrival was for better or for worse. We can say for better because the grow or the field expanded and income increased. Worse because the owner became lazy and is not at all working hard, avoiding work. And therefore, unfortunately, she was not happy. Her husband, that means the owner, had acquired a number of friends in the next town and equal number in his own village. As you know, where there is money, there are always relations, friends, and these people are opportunists because they know that you have money, they want that you should spend money on you, on them. So naturally, what we say, where there is jaggery, there are hands. Where there is money, there are friends. He had a lot of people in the neighboring village, and from his village also there were many friends for no reason. Actually, friendship must be with a few best ones, and with the best selection should be made. Now these all friends had little to do. They had little to do. The owner of the coconut grove had little work in the garden. Therefore, what they did is just spending the time and colorful events. Okay, today is Thursday. Well, let us celebrate this Thursday. Saturday, it's a weekend. Let us celebrate weekend. Sunday, it's a holiday. So let us celebrate that day. That means you are searching for a reason for spending time, money, and be in the company of happy events. So the owner, yes, he had very little to do in the garden and home, but he was so busy with his friends and these colorful events that his wife became apprehensive about this umpteen other voices. She doubted her husband whether he is going on the right way, because money, it attracts a lot of wrong things also. One might begin to drink alcohol, smoke cigarette, or go for any illegal or antisocial work, which money cannot. And now the owner has a lot of money and support of a lot of friends also. Though it is not for better cause, but definitely she doubted that her husband is doing something which is not expected. not good. And she says this recently cultivated habit of spending time and money with the friends was unfortunate. Their farm was nearly 10 acres, which has now gone beyond imagination. That means hundreds of acres. And that was good because people should work hard, and the result of working hard is definitely expansion in many ways. But unfortunately their life was also gradually getting out of hand. Getting out of hand is a very beautiful phrase. Getting out of hand in the sense you are not able to control the events. The things are not in your hands to control. They have become just out of control. So she saw that her husband, who has gone out of control, nobody is there to stop him. There was no one to ask him why and when. So this was a very confusion. The word used here is in a fix. This word tells us about the dilemma, the confusion that the owner's wife has. She was thinking about her husband's, his recently cultivated habits, his friends, and his way of behavior, his attitude. In fact, he had stopped coming home or asking his wife whether she had needs, whether somebody came to visit, whether she needs something. The talk between husband and wife was less, but with friends most of the time was spent. And in this dilemma, when she was, the old man met her. She had come to the coconut grove. The old man met her. Looking at her, he laughed as if he knows everything about the owner. He offered her tender coconut and asked her to sit on the embankment of the well. He too, the old man too, sat beside her. The lady felt a bit hesitant, but there was no other place, so she kept quiet. There was no alternative. It was evening time and the sun rays were reaching the walls and the leaves of the coconut, making the beauty of the garden dull. Then the old man began his narrative. He wanted to tell something to the owner's wife and he began his narrative. So what he narrates to his the owner's wife and what are the important points of that narration we will discuss in the next period. Now the story technique is that story in a story, it is called as story in a story. Till this time we are discussing about the old man, the owner, his wife. Now the old man is going to tell us something, that means a story in a story technique. Okay, let us discuss that next period. Thank you.